Hello, my name is Sandy Adamitis, the social media director for the Page International Screenwriting Awards, and your host for The Writers Hangout, a podcast that celebrates the many stages of writing, from inspiration to the first draft, revising, getting a project made, and everything in between. We'll talk to the best and the brightest in the entertainment industry and create a space where you can hang out, learn from the pros, and have fun.
On stars above and candles bright, your heart will tell you this. Any dream is started when you wish a Christmas wish.
Hi, I'm Sandy Adamitis.
Hi, I'm Terry Sampson.
What a beautiful song. I was really enjoying that.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Does it Christmas Wish? What is the title?
That's exactly right.
Christmas Wish.
When You Wish a Christmas Wish.
When You Wish a Christmas Wish by the Snow Globes.
Yep.
I'm going to miss our December songs.
But don't you think in the midsummer when it's 98 degrees that the Christmas songs will not fit in anymore?
Okay, I didn't think it through. You're absolutely right.
They do have their day, and it's Christmas Day.
Speaking of holiday music, I thought of this on the way over. As I was driving, I was listening to Christmas music. I went from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer to White Wedding by Billy Idol. What do you think of radio stations that do a Christmas song and a contemporary song? They go on and off. I like a solid Christmas music.
Yeah, you've gotta commit to the whole season. They have a station, and I can't think of what it is now here in Los Angeles. That does change over. They're
complete Christmas. Yeah.
I can't think of what it is now.
I can't either. Earth 101? I don't think it's... That's one that does the dedications, right? Earth
yes, it is that one.
Allison, Mick loves you. He's sorry that he forgot to pick you up at Target.
Merry Christmas to everyone at Target.
We have a link to the music by the Snow Globes in our show notes and on Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Cool. For today's episode, I'm going to give you an update on Elisabeth Finch. Last May, we did a 2-part episode entitled The Unbelievable Story of Elisabeth Finch. It is among our most listened to episodes, so again, I thought we'd do an update. A review of Elisabeth Finch. In March of 2022, Elisabeth was a writer, a producer on Grey's Anatomy, and she was being investigated by Disney and placed on administrative leave by the production company Shondaland over concerns about her medical history. We all know Shondaland is just huge. It just owned like Thursday night for the longest time on network television. Shonda Rhimes.
Right.
Elisabeth told friends and co-workers at Grey's Anatomy she'd been diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer called carcinoma in 2012. She wore a bandage that covered her ports. And the port, they usually put a port in
for treatment,
for your chemo treatment. Yeah, tough stuff. Elisabeth's cancer also inspired a storyline on Grey's Anatomy where the character Catherine Avery, who was played by Debbie Allen, was diagnosed with the cancer that Elisabeth had in season 15 of Grey's in 2018. Elisabeth also lost a kidney due to the treatment. Part of her tibia was removed due to chemotherapy. Wow. And if that's not bad enough, she was forced to abort a fetus because chemotherapy made her pregnancy impossible. So she would have died. Mm-hmm. In 2018, Elisabeth told her coworkers, a friend she went to college with died in the anti-Semitic terrorist attack at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. This happened during a service on October 27th, where 11 people were killed and 6 were wounded. Elisabeth was allowed by the FBI to go inside and help collect the remains of her friend inside the synagogue, which is required by Jewish tradition. In 2018, she requested 6 weeks off of Grey's Anatomy so she could check herself into a mental health clinic in Arizona because of the Tree of Life trauma and because her older brother, Eric, had died by suicide. This is the email she sent to her colleagues because she just left town unexpectedly, didn't talk to a lot of people, and then she emailed all her coworkers at Grey's Anatomy. Here's a copy of it. Terry, do you want to read it for us?
Sure. It starts out, "Hey all, I've been absent and coming back tomorrow. I just don't know who's looped into what, and I'd rather put it out there so no one is in the dark or feeling eggshelly. I've been gone because my brother died by suicide. He was on life support for a short while, but ultimately did not survive. I say this not because I need or want anything from anyone. I'm not a delicate flower or whatever. I just want people to know I'm still here, part of the team. I intended to just power through my episode shoot, but I recognized I needed to take a bit of time away to process. Miss y'all, Finchy."
I mean, how much can one woman take?
This too much.
Too much. In Arizona, Elisabeth met a woman in her process group by the name of Jennifer Meyer. Jennifer is a registered nurse from Kansas, and she's doing everything possible so she's able to see her 5 kids alone again. Jennifer was in a marriage, a very horrible marriage, to this man named Brendan, who over 18 years of their marriage abused and raped her. To the outside world, Brendan was the great guy and the doting father, but not behind closed doors. In December of 2018, Jennifer was driving with her 2 young boys in the car, and she just pulled over. She opened the door and just walked away. She just left her boys in the car and just kept walking and walking. And then she suddenly snapped to it and realized what she did. She found some police, told them what she did, and they went and found the boys. The boys were fine, but the next day, Child Protective Services showed up at her house and took the kids away. Of course.
Yes.
She was charged with child abandonment. Now that hurts because something had to happen, but I don't know if Jennifer's kids had to be taken away from her. But, well, I don't know. That's such a complicated scenario. Her entered the Arizona mental health facility so she could prove that she was a fit mother. The 2 women, Jennifer and Elisabeth, started talking, clicked, and they would eventually marry. That's like, where did you guys meet? At Arizona, Elisabeth this was towards the end of her stay. She started to talk about her brother Eric, and for the first time began to say he was violent to her while she was growing up. This brought the 2 women even closer. They both had abusers. Now the women are married, their story continues, but Jennifer, remember a registered nurse, becomes suspicious. She scrolling through her wife's Facebook and discovered that Elisabeth had been out with friends while supposedly cleaning up her dead friend's body. Then Jennifer found pictures of Elisabeth with a bandage over a port scar. Jennifer knew Elisabeth didn't have one. Elisabeth admitted that she had one time had cancer, but that she got chemo and she recovered. She loved the attention so much that she continued to pretend that she had it. Jennifer asked, "So if you had chemo once, then where's your port scar?" Elisabeth was caught. She never had cancer. She never had a kidney removed. She never had an abortion. She never had a friend die at the Tree of Life synagogue, nor did she pick up anybody's remains off the floor of the synagogue. She made it all up.
Wow.
She still maintains that her brother abused her, but I'm not buying it. Yeah. Jennifer told Elisabeth she had to come clean and tell all her friends, family, and colleagues. Elisabeth said she would, but she only told a few friends and then refused to confess to anyone else. Jennifer took matters into her own hands, found Shonda Rhimes' email address, and sent the message. "Please stop letting Finch tell her stories anymore, because there are other survivor stories." When she didn't hear back, she texted the showrunner, Krista Vernoff, the same message. With rumors about Elisabeth swirling, the folks at Grey's Anatomy started checking the internet, and they quickly learned that her brother Eric Finch, who died by suicide,
That's right.
is alive and working as a doctor in Florida. They reevaluated everything. That's when Elisabeth was put on leave from the show, and representatives from Shondaland told The Hollywood Reporter only Elisabeth can speak to her personal story.
That's crazy.
Pretty wild, right, Terry?
Very wild.
And here's the update. What I did was wrong, not okay, effed up. All the words, Elisabeth Finch. On November 7th, journalist Peter Kiefer wrote an article for Ankler. Peter sat down with Elisabeth for 4 interviews at her hillside property home in Topanga Canyon. Topanga Canyon is very unique, wouldn't you say, Terry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's any hippie left in the world, it's on Topanga.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is perfect.
Mhm.
Topanga Canyon is in western LA. It's located in the Santa Monica Mountains and known for its bohemian enclave, attracting artists, musicians, and filmmakers. And because every story we tell leads to Charlie Manson, I discovered Charlie Manson had previously been living in Topanga, of course, where he had briefly befriended both Neil Young and Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. Members of the Manson family began their campaign of murder on July 31st, 1969, with the murder of a Topanga resident, Gary Hinman, a music teacher who had opened his home to anyone needing shelter. Darn that Manson, man.
He got around them.
Yeah. One of the first things Elisabeth said to Peter was, when you get wrapped up in a lie, you forget who you told, what you said to this person, and whether this person knows the thing, and that's the world that you're caught up in. I don't have to worry about that now. She also said that she missed being on the show. I really miss it. I miss my fellow writers. It's like a family, and one of the things that makes it so hard is that they did rally around a false narrative that I gave. A false narrative that I gave? Oh, she's given herself a lot of grace. And using writer's room words.
That's exactly why that made me laugh about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a writer's way. It's kind of like adding a doily to a lie.
Yes.
Yeah, you've set your lie right in a lovely doily.
Lovely doily. When the news broke of Elisabeth's lies, her phone stopped ringing immediately. Friends never called her anymore to chat or offer her any writing jobs. She is in the middle of a contentious divorce and is no longer allowed to see the 5 kids she once helped raise, which are Jennifer's kids, and her family members have disowned her. Back at Grey's, her colleagues responded with shock, outrage, and fear. We worked with someone who not only said she was sick with cancer, but looked sick with cancer. A coworker said she had lost her hair. Her skin was yellow and green. She had a visible chemo port bandage, and she regularly took breaks to vomit, only ate saltines for long periods of time, and who wrote and talked about her experience all the time. Look, I guess you could say people lie in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
One of the most iconic stories told over and over is how Steven Spielberg snuck onto the Universal Studio lot and set up an office in an empty bungalow. Spielberg has told interviewers, every day for 3 months in a row, I walked through the gate dressed in a sincere black suit and carried a briefcase. I visited every set I could, got to know people, observed techniques. And also there's David Geffen, who told William Morris Agency that he graduated from UCLA when he hadn't. Augusta Burroughs and James Fry both ran into problems with their memoirs. James was publicly called out, and Augustin Burroughs was sued by his foster family he lived with, and he can no longer call his book a memoir. He has to call it a novel. So everybody lies in Hollywood, but there are those lies. And then there's what Elisabeth did. What do you feel and think about that?
Well, the division you've talked about is somebody trying to, there's a trail that's trying to be blazed, and they're thinking, if I can just do this, then I'm going to get the objective I'm going after. There's an objective there. Her series of lies, I don't understand at all what she was getting from that. So is this a psychological thing?
In the episodes, which I highly recommend for people to go back and listen to, she was given special privileges in the writer's room. She had a chair, a very special chair. And I know that might sound frivolous, but you do not understand, though, in Hollywood, you're given crappy chairs. And if you want a nice chair to sit in, you have to bring it in. And you're sitting in these chairs for 8 to 9 hours a day.
Right.
So the higher ups always get a nicer chair, but the production company won't pay for everybody. So you have to be privileged to get a nice chair. And she got like a super duper production paid for her because of her medical condition. She got to run the room whenever cancer came up because she was a survivor. And it was said that she sometimes would suppress writers that were below her title and always kind of made it like, you don't know what you're talking about because I'm a cancer survivor. Mm. Everybody always had to pitch in and help write her scripts.
Oh.
Because she was sick.
Oh.
And are you going to say, no, can you write 3 acts of Elisabeth's script for her, which you will not get paid for, and she will get paid for in perpetuity? It was things like that.
Yeah.
Was the benefits. And
it's really not enough, though.
No.
I mean, that even then, as you kind of look at these petty, especially the chair, buy a chair.
Oh, yeah, the chair is petty. I just had to explain
Sure.
that in the writer's room,
And
your chair is very important.
And then her getting people to finish her work for her plays well with her last comment that you read about how much she missed writing. Yeah, but you didn't finish your work even when you were writing.
Exactly. I totally missed that point. That is very subtle. That is so true. Do you miss writing, or do you miss all the accolades of the wonderful stuff that you're writing that you didn't even really write? Because your name alone was on that script.
Well, there's the engine to this thing,
Yeah.
this accolade thing. I mean, after these things,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody listening to this podcast who's grappling with writing something, it's a hideous thing to try to do. It's hard, but at the same time, you're just propelled to do it because it's the work you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when it gets tough, the only thing you can do is go have a lovely beverage and then come back and keep going at it.
Exactly.
Right.
And she had the best in the business ghostwriting for her, basically.
Mm.
Have you had anybody in your life do something like this to you, or?
No, not even close. And that would be a tough thing for me to absorb.
This is a quote by Stephen Galloway, the dean of Chapman University Dodge College of Film and Media Arts. This is a town that, by its very nature, draws people who imagine things. The history of Hollywood is full of fiction, as much off-screen as on. So I guess Elisabeth was in the perfect place to lie.
Yeah, you brought up something really, I don't know if you've zeroed in on it, but I have, and I have a funny songwriter thing to say about that. If you write fiction, mm-hmm. your brain will work on that fictional level a lot, and it's a go-to happy place. So I wonder if she's connecting, if the line is part of the exercise that she's so used to. And here's my analogy. So my joke to people who, when we talk about songwriting or whatever, as I say, if you write enough songs, you will get Dr. Seuss disease. It's not fatal. But what happens is if you keep rhyming for a bunch of weeks in a row, if you're working on a whole boatload of material, mm-hmm. you can't stop rhyming. You can't. Now, if your daughter is 6 years old, it's super cool. She will think this is so great. Now, less so at 16, though.
Exactly. Was that the cutoff point where your daughter just said no more?
Well, it was a ramp, but it was over at 16. She was nice enough not to do that, but
yeah.
I try my best. But all I'm saying is you're bombarded with a
Right.
With a talent, not a talent.
So she is a storyteller, and her stories,
yeah.
Boy, did she tell them. And lying can be an addiction just like anything else. I'm sure she gets bumps of adrenaline from telling her lies.
Right. Plus gets what she wants.
Yes. And that leads to more lying and more lying. When she was found out, as I mentioned, Elisabeth resigned from Grey's Anatomy, but the investigation of her by ABC has stopped. Elisabeth then checked herself into an inpatient treatment at the same Arizona facility because they did such a great job the first time around, and stayed 5 weeks. These days, she rarely ventures out of Topanga and says, I wish I had a grid that would show who's not talking to me because they can't legally, who's not talking to me because they don't know what to say, who's not talking to me because they're peed off, and who's sitting there waiting for me to reach out. I have no clue. Between you and me, Elisabeth, it's nobody wants.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk.
Category, you're going to have a category of everyone.
Yeah.
That's how that will work.
She went on to say, it's been very quiet, very sad time. Family and friends called me a monster and a fraud and said that's all I'll ever be known for, and soon more truth would come out. The journalist Peter Kiefer points out there are many people in Hollywood that have made a comeback, including Will Smith, who 8 months after slapping Chris Rock is doing press for his new movie, Emancipation. Martha Stewart, who was convicted of a felony charges and served 5 months in federal prison. Mel Gibson, we all know what Mel did, the racist statements, recently starred in a movie alongside Mark Wahlberg in a movie called Father Stew, which is on Netflix. So why not Elisabeth Finch? What do you think?
Well, first, if you are a known face, star, you have a much better chance of the comeback.
Very good point.
The writers, they wear their shame.
Yes. There were moments where Elisabeth, during the whole ordeal, wanted things to stop. And she said, every once in a while, the thought would pop up that I wish I could tell Shonda because of the person that she is and because she has the ability to understand that people do really effed up things, but that doesn't make them an effed up person. She sees people, and the antidote to shame is being seen. I can only hope that the work that I've done will allow me back into those relationships where I can say, okay, I did this. I hurt a lot of people, and I'm also going to work my A off because this is where I want to be, and I know what it's like to lose everything. I don't know. Not happy with that statement. I don't see any growth. I see her now saying, hey, I'll be great in a room because I was a liar and characters lie and I can help with that story.
If you were to murder somebody, you say, listen, I'll never carry a gun.
During one of her discussions with Peter, the journalist, Elisabeth talked about an upcoming photo shoot that would take place at her house. She was worried about the logistics and weather, and on several occasions asked who the hair and makeup artist would be. After the shoot, she emailed to ask if she could have some of the extra photos that weren't used. She was particularly interested in shots showing her crying.
Ew.
I know. Creepy feeling, doesn't that give you?
Yeah.
At their final meeting, Peter asked Elisabeth what show she would like to work on if she was able to come back. Handmaid's Tale. I've struggled with that show a lot, and I love what they're doing in the world of redemption and what redemption looks like and what accountability looks like. It's taken a lot of hits because people have wanted certain survivors, characters who are survivors, to act a specific way. They want them to be less angry or less this or less that, and characters are reacting in all different types of ways to pain and to suffering. Writing for that show, Elisabeth Finch says, would be a dream.
That just sounds,
Terry, you're shaking your head.
yeah, it just sounds wrong to me. I mean, the answer to that would have been the remake of Happy Days is what I'd like to write on next. Because it's saying this has nothing to do with her. And what she's saying is, I've had this horrible thing happen. I'm going to look for a show where I can dwell in that more and make some kind of point or something about what mistake I made.
I'll have a character just really do messed up things, but then I'll, help them find redemption, and therefore I can go and be on the cover of a magazine and say, the great comeback.
Yeah.
Elisabeth Finch.
Yeah, it's all about manipulation.
Well, Terry, after that emotional story of Elisabeth Finch, I have something very, very happy to share with you.
What?
Yes. Can I have some giveaway holiday music?
Yes. Here we go.
As you know, we are sponsored by the Page International Screenwriting Awards, and this year is Page's 20th anniversary. Exclusive to the Writers Hangout, we are going to give away a free entry into the Page Awards to 3 of our podcast listeners.
Yay.
All you have to do is send us an email at thewritershangoutpodcast@gmail.com. Name your favorite holiday movie and let us know you would like a free entry into the Page International Screenwriting Awards competition. The names of the winners will be drawn on Christmas Eve and will be announced on next week's podcast.
Woo!
Yay! So drop us a line. Let us know what your favorite holiday movie is that you'd like to enter the contest, and you could win a free entry to the Page International Screenwriting Awards. That's a wrap for the Writers Hangout. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, like, and thrive. Till we get to hang out again, keep writing. The world needs your stories. The Writers Hangout is sponsored by the Page International Screenwriting Awards. Executive producer, Kristen O'Verne. Producers, Terry Sampson and Sandy Adamitis. Music by Ethan Stoller.